connecting to my. Okay. Hello, and welcome to our Business of Ayurveda call. So, today we are going to be, the topic is how to speak your client's language and to sell with soul. And I know for me, it took years and years and years to be able to quote unquote sell my products or myself. Like it's always been one of those, ugh, icky. We've always had those, I guess, experiences, I shall say, with some dodgy salespeople, and we want to make sure that we're far, far away from any of those type of people. But at the same time, we do, as a business, have to sell our products. And to be able to do that, we have to be able to work out who we are selling to. So I would really love these Business of Ayurveda calls to be more like of a hot seat call. So I'm not just like speaking at you and regurgitating things that you may or may not have heard before, but I would really love to get into your guys' business, because the whole idea is to help you work out exactly who you're speaking to and how you're going to authentically and ethically sell that. So it's coming from a place of heart and a place of soul. So, in saying that, what I would like to cover today is why, like, I want to speak about, we've all heard of the phrase our ideal client, and I still speak about this and I still want you guys to understand this. But I must say, I feel like it's lost a bit of its punch, because what I guess it we get so customized to hearing it, and it's like, oh my God, I've done that so many times before. Oh, that's so boring. And we kind of lose ourselves in having to think of who our ideal client is. So what I want to do is I want to explain that your true client is often you a few steps back in your journey. Because I think we start to, we name our ideal client. Oh, Sally, she lives here, she loves yoga, she does this, she does that. And it doesn't really have that same authenticity to it unless we are understanding it from like a really deep part of the journey, because that is where we're going to truly be able to step up in our authenticity and provide a service to our client. So is there anyone here though who thinks that their client or their ideal client is not who they were a few steps back in your journey? Like, do you have it? Maybe you do have a completely different niche, like nothing to do with you. For instance, I know Anna Viel, who's in here, she works with men's mental health, and she's not a man herself, but she does that because she's got experience with her story, when she weaves her story, and there's a lot to do with her dad and why she's wanting to support men's mental health. But for today's session, is there anyone here who does not think that their ideal client is what you were a few steps back in the journey? Yell out, hands up, in the chat, however you want to answer me. So everyone here is agreeing that their ideal client is them a few years or months ago, or even maybe a few weeks ago. Yeah. Amazing. Is there anyone here that just has no idea who their ideal client would be? Don't be shy, don't be afraid, because this is like, these are the sessions I really want to help you guys. So we've got a really clear understanding.
With mine, it can be me, for example, but it's also very broad. So that's why I sometimes get a little bit, maybe not overwhelmed, but that's why I think maybe I should just focus on that first and then expand, because I could apply it to a lot of different areas.
Yeah. So who at the moment would you say is your ideal client? Can you explain them to me?
Well, someone, who's burnt out, who, like, say, if I go back for me, someone who's burnt out, had depression, chronic fatigue, mother, I was a single mother, trying to juggle everything and just not being able to cope that well, with life really. And then, because I bring in a few different things, not just the yoga and the meditation. I've also got something else that looks at cellular health and inflammation in the body. So that all together, that's sort of what I see in the future. I feel like I'm still just in the baby shoes of my business. And that's, of course, why I'm doing this as well.
Yeah.
I'm just brainstorming how to best offer it, but also, like you say, you don't want to come across salesy. So something, but I think when we spoke, that's what you straight away saw. Like I didn't mention the cellular health, but I think that was the main thing that got me back on track. So I'm very, very passionate about that. So that could be for everyone, but maybe I should just start with women,
Yeah. Yeah. Let's really refine it today, because what happens when we first start out in our business, it's really easy to go, oh, I want to serve everyone. I don't want to exclude people, or I'm missing out on clients. But what will happen is the exact opposite. So you won't be seen as an authority in your niche if you don't have someone certain that you can speak to. So if everyone here is thinking that they were their ideal client a few months, years, or weeks back, whatever that looks like, today, for the purpose of this exercise, I really want to hone in on, let's just call it our younger self, because even if it was a couple of days ago, we were younger, okay? A little bit younger. Or is there a better term that we like to use? Are we all like ageist and afraid to use that word? I don't know, our younger self. But let's just think of our prior self, okay? Let's think of our prior self. So for the purpose of today, that's who I want you to picture as your ideal client, unless it's a completely different niche, but no one said it was for them. So we're going to get into that, and we're going to look at what that looks like, so we can speak directly to her from your experience now as who you are, as your higher self, as you've evolved to your higher self now, okay? The other thing that's going to play a really important part is your own doshic psychology. So how your constitution influences how you will communicate with your clients. And we've got to think about the constitution of our clients as well, the type of people we like to work with. So, for instance, I was on a podcast the other day, and it was a guy that he does weight loss for women, perimenopausal women in their 40s, 50s. And I do too, right? As part of hormonal health. And I am so used to serving Vata Pittas, even with that hormonal imbalance. And so I'm so used to just spinning off and talking on a podcast about the Vata Pitta types of people and blah, blah, blah. And when I was on his podcast, he's like, oh no, all of mine are complete kapha, like completely kapha. And so I was like, oh, and he lives in America, in a really cold town, and women who are so, like, so full of raising kids and cooking the cakes at home and all of those type of beautiful attributes that make up a kapha person, but also that they couldn't get the motivation to lose the weight. Whereas I'm usually trying to calm my clients down, like my pittas, stop, and my vatas, calm down. So he knows that he has to speak to that kapha type of person. And it's not to say that we're not going to get all constitutions, because I certainly do get some kaphas. But I'm so used to the majority of my people, especially if I see locals, because of where I live, they're very Vata Pitta, because I live on the Gold Coast. It's usually sunny, it's hot, it's a very go sort of area to live in. It's all about, what word do you say, Mel? Appearances, success, outwards look. I don't know how to explain it. I mean, I love the Gold Coast, but it's very yeah. Mel, you're muted, so I know your mouth's going.
Mini Hollywood. That's what I
Yeah,
call
that's it. So we've got to think of our own constitution, how we like to communicate and how we like to show up, and the type of people that we will be also supporting. So what I want you to do right now is write down and think about, number one, what is the recurring theme that you help with your one-to-one clients? So what is the recurring theme that you help with? For me, I know it's the perimenopausal women who are all of a sudden suffering with brain fog, anxiety, extra stress, all of those type of things with hormonal chaos. So I know that's sort of the recurring theme that comes through my doors. Even if they're gut health clients, there's all of that underlining. And then I want you to ask yourself, who comes to you naturally? So who naturally comes to you to seek your support, seek your advice? And I'm even just thinking myself, like I might, because of my sort of constitution, might be attracting people similar to me. Now I'm thinking about it, which is why they enter my doors in my clinic a lot. And which is also why this week I'm feeling very fried because I have had so many clients, like so many, which I'm grateful for. I'm not whinging, but I'm really depleted because my constitution gets very depleted very easily because I do have also that pitta type A where I want to put everything into my clients, and I do, but I have seen so many of them that my vata is very depleted. And I get a lot of clients like that as well. So who comes to see you naturally? The next one is, what conversations light you up? What conversations do really lights you up, specifically with your clients or your potential clients? So I know for me, like, and a really important part, a lot of them come to see me is they want the nutrition piece. They want to know what they need to eat for their mind, body constitution. And that is so important. And so obviously I give them all the things, the dietary, go through it all with them. And it's an important part of my work, but that's not the part that lights me up out of our conversations. I love going into the Ayurvedic psychology. I love going into the functional medicine side of things and connecting the science with the Ayurveda and the woo and bringing it all together. That's what lights me up. And them having the, oh my God, the spark, oh, wow, no one's explained it to me like that. I love that part. Whereas I know there's some beautiful women in here who love the Ayurvedic nutrition side, and they could talk for days. And I mean, go to Jackie's Instagram and she talks for days and days about nutrition, Ayurvedic nutrition. We've got Beck in here, a nutritionist as well. So that might really light them up. And what pain points and desires do I deeply understand? So now this is where I want you to think of your prior self to where you are now. What were your pain points that you really understand? And what were your desires? So what were you wanting? So I know for me, when I was going through my hormonal and gut upheave after the twins, I was extremely bloated all the time, looked 6 months pregnant, no matter what I did, had really, really troubling gut health. And I was also teaching yoga, Pilates, and a health practitioner. And so I felt like an absolute fraud. Like I felt so uncomfortable in my body, constantly bloated, and I had to get up on stage and do yoga and Pilates, and it just made me mentally not feel well. It made me feel like an absolute fraud, and I couldn't understand why I couldn't support myself in that moment and why I was so bloated despite eating well and doing all the things. And I knew that was a big pain point for me. And then I also knew that I desired to feel really free in my body, to feel really connected to self, to not be so consumed by the thoughts that was going on. So what was your pain points and the desires that you deeply understand? Okay, so you can work more on this later in your own time, but why it's so important is because we've all said that we were our ideal client, and now we need to speak their language. What happens is sometimes we get, we learn stuff, and so now we're a few months, a few years, or a few decades beyond what we were. and the way we think, the way that we speak changes. But our ideal client doesn't and doesn't know that way. And so we're not really speaking their language. We're speaking it from who we are now. So we have to go back to who we were. And Danny, what is this? Danny said, yes, this is exactly what I struggle with my past language. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's so, and it is so hard. Like it takes a lot of training to do it, right? So the other thing is we also have to get rid of trying to do any of the clever marketing. So like it's really about speaking from that soul level. You need to make them heard and seen, and that is you speaking to that person you were, right? We also want to really connect to their nervous system and their soul. And that might sound a bit funny if we're not directly working with the nervous system, but what I mean by that is we need to evoke emotion. Yeah. So we don't want to go from surface level symptoms like hormonal balance. Instead we want to move that to like an emotionally resonant outcome. So finally feeling like myself again, you know, I find like when my hormones were balanced, I finally felt like myself again. I could get rid of the brain fog. I was so like, I used to be so sharp-minded, so determined, so like on point. And then all of a sudden I felt like an absolute idiot because I couldn't remember anything. I was full of brain fog. And instead of saying I, you'd be saying you in your marketing, right? So you're calling out that emotional aspect and you'd be saying like, that makes you feel like unworthy in your position, in your role at work, even though you know you're extremely clever. And so we're not just saying, oh, you've got a hormonal imbalance. We're talking about that emotional and soul level connection with our ideal client. And we want to have a balance of education, like educational points to like set ourselves up as authority, but not all of the time. What we need to shift is from constantly educating our clients, like, oh, take magnesium to help you sleep, or take magnesium to poo better, to feeling the connection with our clients. Yeah. Like, oh, I remember that time I was so bloated and I was so full of shit, like really full of shit. I was so constipated. Anyway, I end up taking this wonderful magnesium, which I recommend to so many of my clients because it really helps them. And I realize like I'm not the only one suffering. Like there's other women who are in their 50s going to work looking pregnant. Obviously they're not. Like, really connect to them. So they don't always need more information. They need to be seen and felt and heard. So in saying that, I'm just checking the chats. Yeah, you had to speak their language. Yeah, it's so important to speak their language. And to be able to speak their language, you have to know who they were, which was who you are. So does anyone want to share what they've written down as their ideal client being themselves? So the recurring theme that they help with, what comes naturally to you, the conversations that light you up, and the pain points and deepest desires of your prior self. And is there anyone stuck with that? Who would like to have a go? Susie, you've got your mic off.
I'm happy to share. Yep.
Yep.
So I had a really nice little breakthrough there, which I'll get to. Thank you. So the recurring theme I work with, that's where we started, wasn't it? Yes. So daily routines and diet and what on earth do I do? How on earth do I eat? How do I put this all together? As well as menopause and hormonal changes and things like that. So that's the recurring theme.
And I'll stop you there because I love that. Because what I'm seeing is menopausal women, because of their hormonal decline, they get very overwhelmed very easily because of the brain fog. So the exact thing that you just said is routines and food, what the hell do I do? Like, how do I eat? Like, how it's like, so you really targeting your ideal client, they're thinking that. So you to talk about the overwhelm, the decision fatigue, and that's why Dinacharya is so important. You're supporting people with this Dinacharya and this routine that they just need to follow, which turns into a habit, because the decision fatigue and overwhelm is so real for women in menopause. Love
Yeah.
that. Beautiful. So that's the recurring theme. Go with that. Your idea, that is part of who your ideal client is and what they're suffering with. Keep going.
Yeah. Awesome. And who naturally comes to me is women in that state. So either perimenopause and really deep in that transition. So they're deep into perimenopause, to menopause and postmenopause. And people that are more kapha are finding me. And this is my realization I had, which I'll get to. So people that, and I'm not kapha, but kapha is what I've had to really, really focus on. But I'll get to a very interesting point. So what conversations light me up? Plans to act and create change. So even that's always been my reality until menopause. And then I got so confused. I had no idea how to act anymore. I had no idea how to change it. I had no idea how to make it better. Now I feel like I'm, so far beyond that I have found steadiness again, that it's like I'm back to act and create change. I'm back to that old part of me that can cut through, see what needs to happen, let's go, boom. And conversations that support self-understanding. That's what lights me up, and I find that my light-hearted sharing, like you just shared about, oh my God, I was so bad, got shit, like that light-hearted sharing, my clients really comment on that. They kind of say, you share yourself, which makes me feel really comfortable and makes it okay. Like I don't go into great detail and I don't tell them the whole thing. Sorry, go on.
Which is why kaphas are coming to you. Kaphas need to feel safe and secure. And if you're sharing, kaphas will come. Whereas the pittas will be a bit more like they'll still come, but there's going to be some that'll be like, oh, is she professional? Is she going to know what she does? Like, even though I attract them and I still share. So that is another, like, understanding the way you deliver is who you're going to grab. So we know kaphas need to feel that safety, that security before they, and then they'll really attach themselves onto somebody, So love that. Keep going. Sorry.
And I really, really stuck Vata would too, because a stuck Vata, which was what I was, it's like dry, cracked earth, but it can really need to feel safe as well, because it's just hanging out in this dry, cracked earth with too much wind.
Yes, it needs to feel just like contained and held by a big mama bear.
Yeah. What pain points and desires that I deeply understand? This is the kapha point too, which is what I just said, being stuck. And that can play out for Vata and kapha. Pitta, not so much, I don't think, but the Vata element and the kapha element can get really stuck because of that backing up that happens with Vata, with the constipation and the fear and the anxiety.
Yeah. So even in your messaging, you can be like, I know I was where you're at. Like, you are stuck in making decisions. You're stuck in making any change. You don't know how to do it because there's so much information out there. You know that your hormones are declining and it's changing your physiological being. But why does it feel so, stuck in your emotions? And I don't know, you can just riff on that, but really like sort of calling it out to them. See, this is what happens when you understand your ideal client.
It's amazing. This is so clarity. That's why I'm so excited to share it. And the desire was the wanting to be free of restrictions that stopped me from expressing me, because I was so good at expressing me. That's, my whole life was about personal expression, and then it wasn't. And then I got so stuck. So that's what I'm really good is.
Amazing. Your whole theme is like around their stuck energy and force, and freeing them to be their self in this new transformational stage of life that they're in.
Yeah. And that through all of this that I'm doing with you and Melissa, it's like it's just getting so clear. So thank
Love
you so much.
Love that. Thanks,
Awesome.
thanks so much for sharing. I love that.
Thank you for listening.
Awesome. Does anyone else, has anyone stuck with their ideal clients and wants to go over anything here? If they want some help sort of getting it out of their head. I know for me, like when I talk it out, sometimes I get realizations and it just helps me understand who my client is.
Maybe Harmony, you can talk about, no, we spoke about it a lot, is, if you notice that you have one ideal client, but you also have other people coming to you. So for you, Harmony, you've got people coming to you in clinic, you've got people coming to you to learn Ayurveda Alchemist, and then you've got also people coming into you for the mentorship. So how does that look like? Because I know a lot of people here are multi-talented and they've got so many different modalities and arms. Can you probably briefly talk about that for them?
Yeah, so that's going a bit deeper, but what I would say to that is why we're so so passionate about helping you create the soul of your business, so your methodology, because your methodology pillars will speak to your ideal client, whether they're coming through for me, for instance, whether they're coming through clinic, through the alchemist, through acupuncture, all of those type of things. So when you have different aspects of your business, what we want to do is help you pull it all together so that you have your own methodology. And when you learn your methodology, you have what we call the big win, right? So the big overarching thing that you help people with. And for me, my methodology is called the higher self method. So it's really about, if you are balancing your hormones, your health, your physical, your mental, emotional, you're going to be able to step into your higher self and achieve what you want to in your relationships, in your business, in your work. And that is the same for within the Ayurveda Alchemist. My whole methodology is weaved into how we teach you like the Ayurvedic psychology, the physical health, and for you guys to be able to step into your higher selves to support and embody Ayurveda for yourself, but to go on and serve other people. So knowing what your big win is for people, what you're really getting them, which isn't why I'm saying it's not just hormone balance, it's really connecting to that emotional resonance with them and the soul. They're like connecting with their soul. So really understanding who your clientele is. But for people who, I would also say that if you are a bit newer in your business, I wouldn't go and have all of the different paths like I have. Okay, that's been built over many, many, many years. So I wouldn't say go and have multiple avatars and multiple clients. Still really focus in on you as your ideal client from your prior self. And when you can start to really elevate and talk to that person with real like confidence and authority, that's how you're going to be seen by your community. And from that place of authority, then you can move into other places. It's like, Tony Robbins, who he can talk on anything to do with personal development and, mindset and whatever. He's such a big name in the industry, but he actually started niching on helping people quit smoking. That was what he was doing with his life coaching before he went off into these sort of big, broad aspects. So you don't do it the other way. You don't go big and broad first and then narrow down. I mean, you can explore for sure. Explore if you like working with, Ayurvedic psychology, people's mental health and stress, or if you like working with hormones, or if you like to do more of the body therapies or whatever it is, but still really speak into your niche and that sort of one person when you're starting out, then branch off into others. And it does become much easier to be able to do that when you have connected all the dots through your own unique methodology, because your methodology should address anyone that comes into your field. You should be able to help them with that. Does that make sense? Yeah. Does anyone have any questions on that? Okay. All right. So now what I want you guys to think about who, like your ideal client being who you previously were, is I want you to think, what were you really struggling with? Like, what was the biggest struggle for you? similar to pain points, but what was like, if you could just think of the biggest struggle that you just wish you had a magic pill to swallow and it would all go away, what is that struggle? And then I want you to ask, at that time, what were you craving? And also at that time, what is it that you needed to hear? What did you need to hear? So now you've written down what your client's struggling with, what they're craving, and what they needed to hear, what they need to hear. That's part of understanding them on a deeper level. Therefore, you can flip that around into your messaging. So you can start with a hook you're struggling with, completely call them out. Like if someone has said you're struggling with horrendous bloating where you look 6 months pregnant and it's so embarrassing because everyone's asking you if you're pregnant, but you know you just ate lunch. There's no baby in there. Like I'd be like, yeah, guilty. And then, what are they craving? I know you're craving to be able to eat whatever you want and still have a flat stomach, yet everything you put in your mouth seems to make you look like a balloon. And what do I need to hear? Look, that is uncomfortable and it's okay, but it isn't normal and there are solutions to fix that. That's just off the top of my head. You can go a lot deeper than that. But once you understand those things, this is where you flip it around to call it out in your marketing. This is where you directly speak to your ideal person. So does anyone want to share those 3 things, like when they were their prior self, what they were struggling with, what they were craving, and what they wanted to hear?
I'm happy to.
Yeah. Good. So at least someone's speaking to me today.
I'm always happy to speak, but I don't want to talk too much. So I'm very aware that I always speak. I'm sorry.
No, it's a good learning experience.
I'm going bright red.
Being put into practice. Awesome. So,
I'm always so excited about how much I learn, and I just want everyone to flushing so much now. It's ridiculous.
Love that. What are you struggling with? Hot flushes?
Okay, so what was my biggest struggle? Breaking through the fear and anxiety. Oh, I was just crippled. I was absolutely crippled with fear and anxiety. At that time, what was I craving? Relief, fun, and action. And what did I need to hear? That it was normal and I was okay. That everything that was happening to me was normal due to these changes, those changes, that changes. And I just needed someone to explain it to me, see me, and tell me it was okay. So what you just said then, the hook. So you're struggling with feeling frozen in fear. You're craving to just move and feel relief so you can get back to fun and action and freedom. And I see you, what you're going through is really normal when hormonal changes take place. So blah, blah, blah.
Perfect. Exactly. So you can just flip the script into calling them out. So that
Yeah.
they're like, oh, okay, she knows what I'm talking about. And then if you weave in a bit of a story, you're also like, well, she's also been through that. But look at her now. And so she obviously knows what she's talking about because she's she's also been through it. She's done the study to back what she's saying as well as having the personal experience. And she's also showing how she shows up now. And that's what I want to be. Yeah. So you're taking them on your journey as well, and you're always a few steps ahead of them. And that's where people will start to be like, well, what are you doing? Like, how are you doing that? You know? So,
That's so cool. And it's so simple, and it's relational intelligence. Like it's the intelligence in the connection and this marketing universe that we live in now. So it feels really, really nice. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
perfect. And so with all of the little things that you guys have jotted down, I want you to now ask yourself, who do you think that you are currently speaking to, if you are currently speaking to an audience? Is anyone currently speaking to somebody that doesn't match the person who they've been writing about?
I have like friends that just they don't really want to change. Like they say all the time, oh, I feel like this and I don't know what's wrong with me or blah blah blah. And I just go, well, I know, but yeah, and I'll make a suggestion. And they're like, oh, who cares anyway? Let's just live life, let's just, I'm like, okay then. But so slowly, I think like I'm getting asked more and more questions because when I've started to form my own healthy habits and change my lifestyle, I'm coming across differently now and not so, yeah. They'll be like, oh, you seem to get through menopause fairly unscathed. And I was like, well, no, like, but I had like my plan in place. Like I've done a lot of work to make it look this easy, actually. Like, yeah. So
do you think you're speaking to those friends that don't want to change? They're clearly not an ideal client at all.
No.
So they're not the people that we want to be speaking to, because everyone has the right to change or to not change. It's their personal journey. We want to call out the people who are ready and willing to make the changes.
Yeah.
Because you can't force or make someone change, that's for sure. So if they're the people that you're currently talking to, then you need to shift the person that you're talking to someone who is ready and willing to make the changes needed to live their best life. Yeah.
Yes.
So do you
I've
think
got like a few Vata types that Vata Pitta, I suppose that but they're like how I was, probably feeling awful, just brain fog, not sure will it work, will it won't work, like is she, does she know what she's talking about, that kind of thing. And then so the fear of change, or I'm not sure. Yeah.
so
And
do
then
you
the
think
Pitta
your ideal
the Pitta types, they already have, like, they've researched everything and like they're trying everything and they're fasting and they're taking all these herbs, and so it's like it's different. It's different where I don't know. I don't have like a huge network of people where I am. So
yeah. So do you think you're talking to the right person? Like, who do you want to serve?
Well, we're all talking about the same thing, like, but I feel like at the moment there's my group of girlfriends that would like some advice, are just in denial still or something. I'm not really sure. It's like I'm going,
And
Ayurveda, Ayurveda is the answer. And they're
are
like,
your
oh,
group
you
of girlfriends
stuff.
Are your group of girlfriends the ones paying you?
I'm not
give
getting
advice?
paid. I just,
Yeah. So I don't think your group of girlfriends are your ideal client at all. Because if they're like not willing to wanting to change, they're not willing to listen, or they're like, oh, you and your big stuff, then that's just like they're the people that I'm not going to be talking to in my messaging when I'm going to go and create like my own business out of it and see clients. So that's a
Yeah.
great learning opportunity too, because you can be like, okay, what are the similar things going on here? There, I want to speak the opposite language.
Yeah, I'm finding that it's quite a challenge.
Yeah. So I think you've got to really think about who you deeply want to serve and call that out. If you're getting people that are not really willing to make the changes, then in your messaging, you need to say, I'm here for the women who are ready to make the changes so that they can, and then your big promise, your big result that you're going to give them. And that's a really powerful way to call them out. You're saying, I'm ready for you if you're ready to make the changes, and this is the big result that you're after, and whatever your big
Yeah.
result is. And that's based on your methodology, what your methodology gets them. And then you can we call it a hand raising post, where you say, you might like do a little live, or you might have a little video, or you might make a PDF, and you say, hey, I'm looking for women ready to change to get this big result. Who wants my free PDF on this, or whatever your freebie is? And then people go, I do. Then you send it to them in exchange for their email address. So you get the email address, and already you know then and there, okay, these are my ideal clients. So these are the people that I'm messaging to. And then you test your messaging that way, and you test who your ideal clients are that way.
Yeah. And I think I feel a bit like Danny as well, where you have gone past, then you need to, like how you're saying, step back. And then sometimes I feel like, oh, am I just telling them something they already know? Or
You won't be.
Yeah. And it's like you have to be confident that you do have something that is like valuable and will be helpful.
We always have to remind ourselves to keep things simple, because remember, we spoke about speaking their language, connecting to them and where they're at, not where we're at now. I mean, telling grown adults that having a routine is good for their mental health and body, how basic is that? But that's basically what I've been telling people for the last 10 years, is that's called dinner. Okay. It's like, it's the basic stuff that people need reminding of. What gets repeated gets remembered. And I'm still shocked when I've seen so many different clients the last couple of weeks, and they're like, oh, wow, really? And I'm like, yeah, like really, like that's why they're there. They're seeking the clear support and simple answers. People don't want complicated. They want the simple stuff. And sometimes it's the simple stuff that moves the needle forward for them. Like, we all know meditation and breathing's good. You tell someone to do 5 minutes of it in the morning, and that's the only change they need to do for the rest of the week. Like, who's going to pay to hear that? Well, actually, a lot of people, because a lot of people are going to get results from that. It's the accountability, the support, the encouragement, the inspiration, the motivation that comes from your position of authority that you're going to be building throughout your messaging and calling the right people to you. So even for me, like, I've had a SIBO flare up again, and I am a SIBO doctor practitioner. I know all the things, and I've written out my whole protocol. I'm going to start it. And I even thought about, should I just go see someone and hand them my protocol just so they can tell me to do this protocol? Because it's just like being told by someone else guiding you, that accountability. And I was like, no, I won't do that, but I will tell my husband, explain it to my husband. So even though he wouldn't be able to come up with the protocol himself, I can be like, hey, remind me to take my supplements here, remind me this, like, just to keep that accountability.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that makes sense, because that's sort of what happens with me as well. Like, and I know that it's from pitta imbalance. So yeah, you just know, don't you? You gotta.
Yeah, you gotta trust yourself. And Mel's got her hand up. I think she got something to say.
I think it's probably not relevant now. It's like gone and past. I didn't want to like interrupt. It was something a point on, sorry, I'm not feeling the greatest and my mind's everywhere. But it was on the point of when you're talking about like messaging and who your ideal client is. I found like with my messaging as well, I was talking about, helping you heal, reconnect, the trauma, anyone that suffered through trauma, helping you heal, reconnect, all that kind of stuff. So I was getting a lot of people coming to me that were like tougher people that wanted to just be held, that weren't ready to make the change. And that's okay. Just recognizing who you're serving and where my client was. And at that stage everyone was coming to me. They weren't ready for the big move, but they were ready just to acknowledge and to be held safe. So I held a lot of women's circles back then and little communities where we spoke, like online women's circles, in-person women's circles. And that was great. But then I was like, oh, my soul's yearning to like, let's move. But there was still elements of healing because healing's, never ending. So I'm like, oh, okay, how do I, and I think we had a conversation of this, Harmony, when we did a cafe catch up. I was like, how do I attract those women that are ready to heal, but also ready to, because a lot of women were coming to me for business and soul work and stuff. How do I get them to move and take action and build a business? Like, to me, they were, in my mind, two very different people. And I'm like, I'm attracting the cuffers, but I want the pitters. And what am I doing? So it was just shifting the language and how to wrap still healing, but in movement. So I had to do a lot of the work that Harmony's doing with you now, going away and really tapping into that version of me that was on that cusp of, okay, I've done a lot of the healing, a lot of the safeness, a lot of the held work, but now how do I turn that corner? So yeah, just going away and tapping into that version of you. And I think understanding, are you in that phase where you're wanting to hold people in that? Are you in that page of that transition, or are you in the go phase? Or like, where is your client on their journey, and how can you tap into that version of you when you're there, and tap into your mind? What were you thinking? What were you feeling? Everything that Harmony's saying. So when I did that, that's when things started to be clearer now for me. So I don't know when that was relevant a while when you were speaking, but
No, it's totally relevant. And the reason that you could do that is because you started to realize the type of people you wanted to work with. You were attracting some people, and it had its place and still has its place for
it does.
some other people, but you realize that's not the conversations. Remember, I asked at the start of the session, what conversations light you up with your clients? They weren't the conversations you were having. You were liking the people that are more action orientated. And so shifting, when you understood who that ideal client was, who you enjoyed working with, you shifted the messaging, but you also understood your own constitution, your own doshic constitution. For someone who is more of a kapha constitution themselves, that might not be the people that they want to call in. So
Because what was happening when I did have a kapha, I did have a one-on-one kapha client, and she was very stuck. And I gave her sent her a message in the morning. I was sending her messages in the morning. It was like a mindset shift. And I love the pitters, like, come on, get up. It's a brand new day. Let's go. Let's get it. Put your excuses to bed, like that kind of shit. And she was very taken back. And she goes, I couldn't listen to the rest of it. And it wasn't even the hardcore stuff I listened to. It was just kind of more motivating. And she couldn't listen to that because it didn't resonate. And she gave me feedback saying that my language was too much, like, oh, come on, let's fucking go. And it was too much for her. So that's when I realized, when I do get those cuffers, I have to adapt, like still be myself, but adapt and meet them where they're at. That's when I went, I love these people. They're not my people. There are other people there that can serve them, because I want that destructiveness.
whereas I can imagine if you referred that client onto, say, Rebecca in here, that client will respond very well to Rebecca. So Beck, can you just unmic your mic for a sec? And
You mean me?
yeah. So what are the type of the clients that you currently see or have been seeing with what you've been doing, even in your yoga and stuff?
Well, it's funny. I'm actually listening here. I've actually had this anxiety as well, you know, showing up and everything, but I think I'm ready. So I've actually been doing a lot of disability support work, you know, with really, really fragile people. But again, now I'm moving on, and I want to actually work with people who are a bit more stable and healthy and want to move forward. But there are people who come to me, I don't really have that. I'm just building it. But it's funny that I finished something off 2 weeks ago and people are inquiring. So
Lovely.
there are mums, you know, who are just exhausted. But at the same time, I've got a group of outdoor fitness people who want to do yoga every morning, who are just totally, totally stiff. So
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's quite what the
Yeah,
answer you were looking for.
Yeah, no, beautiful. I actually just wanted to get you on here talking just so we could see the difference in the energy between Rebecca and Melissa. And you could see that that client that Melissa got feedback from, you could see would probably maybe resonate really well with Rebecca. She's just got that more.
More of the nurturing, grounded,
I'll let you
soft.
take over so I don't offend.
Yeah, like nurturing. I think it's more like the cuppers love the not in your face, let's go kind of thing. They love the more Oprah's soft nurturing, like mummy cuddles, where I'm just like, I love giving nurturing but in a different way. So
Yeah.
in a
some
different
clients,
way, yeah,
it's
because you are very
it's-
nurturing.
yeah, and
It's-
it just like
it's
when I
funny.
listen. Pardon?
Because in my studio, everyone says I'm so calm and da-da. But if you
Yeah.
ask my kids at home, I'm like
Yeah.
military. I'm like, but I
Yeah.
think I just get into this different headspace. It's like I
Mm.
connect to something different, and
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I can see anyone coming to you, you would give that beautiful peace, like that peace, grounding, nurturing space. Whereas if you come in my world,
You're
Axis,
gonna
you
get
have no
fire.
idea what you're going to get. You're going to get fire, laughing, swearing. Come on, that's just a fucking excuse. This is the call, you know. But yeah, so I think it's beautiful, and to know, like, especially within the Ayurveda Alchemist, what everyone does, their style of serving and holding containers. So then we can refer. So if I get a client go, oh, I can see she's more of the kapha, she would really be suited to Beck. I might refer her onto that because I know that that client is going to thrive because she's going to feel safe and supported in that container. Whereas someone that wants more that disruptive, they're going to feel safe and supported in my container. If they go into Beck's container, they're like, oh my God, I'm boring. Like I need that fast movement because they're a pitta. They're like, this is too slow and nurturing. So it's, yeah, just understanding your client, understanding you first and how you like to serve, and that would better help shape like what clients you can serve and bring out the best, like at the better transformation, so to speak.
And I think we've got a couple of, there was Kulbinder's got a hand and Danny had a hand. Is that right? Danny, do you have something?
Yeah, I just had a quick question because I have noticed I've got a client that I've been working with one-on-one for 12 months and the other one I've been working with one-on-one for 6 months. And it's really interesting how Mel brought that up because I've noticed since I've changed and evolved in that time, I've noticed how like the frustrations that have come up with those clients, I guess you could say. And I've just really and I've switched my coaching style a lot because I've had to go from, you know, being that really like nurturing and like really like giving that space of acceptance. And I've had to really start to like really bring them into responsibility because I was like, okay, come on, like, you know, you're getting to a point and now I really need to actually get you to shift and start taking responsibility because it was kind of like wishy-washy, like not taking that responsibility. And for a little bit, I was like lenient with that because it's quite deep work that I do and it's quite confronting. And it's like, so I was sort of nurturing them along. And then all of a sudden now I'm like, okay, like you guys, this, like, where we're starting to repeat patterns and cycles, like this is where you really need to come into that responsibility. But I'm not sure that's an evolution that I'm just really stepping into new sort of territory with that. And I'm really not sure how this client evolution is evolving. And so I feel really confused at the moment on where that particular client is.
Well, at the end of the day, you're there to help them get transformation. So if you need to call them out in a nice way to get them the transformation, then you're doing your job, and you're always going to do it in a really beautiful, ethical way. And if you're evolving and pushing them along, then you're going to help them evolve. Because
Yeah.
again, you've noticed that they're stuck in their own like patterns, cyclical patterns. Like your role is to get them out of those cyclical patterns.
Yes.
Yeah. So I
And like they are getting out of them, but I just find that there's that like little bit of frustration coming in with that particular client, because I'm like, "Ugh, come on, like
they're used to kind Danny, and now they're getting Danny, getting him work. And that's the thing, like the work is not all friggin' bubbles and candy
No.
floss. Like the work is hard. And sometimes you're not the most loved one. It's like if you go to a boot camp and your trainer's yelling at you to run up the hill with a weighted vest, like you're not loving them in that moment. But when you feel
No.
safe and fit, you're like, yeah, I go to this great boot camp. No, yeah. So it's like you're the one. That's what coaching is, and that's what like being a support person is to move them through the tough times and get them over themselves so they can. I think the biggest takeaway from today is that you really have to understand yourself so that you can go and serve others. And that's what Ayurveda is all about. It's really cultivating that greater sense of self-awareness. And even if you are evolving as a person, and you will be absolutely now, Danny, because you're about to give birth to another human. And so there's so many different changes going on for you and different revelations and whatnot. What we need to do is really understand who we were, who we are now, and how we can serve. Because if we know who we were, and we've all said that that is our ideal client, then we know who we need to speak to. If we know who we are, we know how we're going to show up and how we're going to support them. If we know how we can help them, that means we have the method. We have the know-how of getting prior us to their desires that you once had. Yeah. And so I think the biggest takeaway is to really know who you are, how you show up, what your mind body constitution is, how you like to coach, who you like to coach will then come through that. Does that make sense? Has anyone got more or less clear on who their ideal client is today? Kulbinder, did you have a question, or was that just a waving hand?
Yeah, I actually don't know how to put my hand up through
Oh,
the.
so you did a wave instead. Love that.
It's a question for Mel. So, when you went through your transition period to seek your ideal client, I know a lot is done now on social media, but did you also start networking with, in the right groups, and so you could attract the right clients? So, women's in business, for example, networking group, because you want those pitter clients who want to take action. So, was that part of your transition as well?
I think part of the transition, I've always done networking. I think it doesn't matter what part of where I was in my journey, when I was just filling the waters into business and was quite unsure, to even now, where now I know I've pivoted, like repivoted and on the thing. Networking for me is the biggest part. I don't go there to network with the intention of I'm going to go seek clients, but just to connect. And I find, for me personally, and it may be different because depending on different niches, for me, I don't really find my ideal client in the network scenarios, because so now I'm going to be very intentional where I go network, because a lot of the business networkings, they're only out there for themselves to promote themselves, and they're not really my ideal client. But I love to go and make connections, because when I make connections and find an amazing soul like Harmony, I'm like, oh my God, they're my people. So you find your people in there, and they may not be your client, but can be your soul sister, or help you in different ways, and can refer you. So how I attract is, yes, social media, but just sharing my story like through social media, and people know people, and just being really clear on who I want now. And I think my energy radiates that, because I had no idea, like I didn't go in there to help people with their soul mission and soul purpose in business or whatever, but just through my energy and what I was coming across, that were naturally coming like, Mel, I want healing, but how do I now I found my purpose. How do I turn that into a business? How do you get a, social media up? How do you get a link tree? How do I get my clients, like through that stuff? So I think really, like everything that Harmony's saying, getting super clear, this is the foundation of your business. And we had a call through Elevate today where we spoke about, you need to do this work to build the foundations of your business. Because if you don't have clarity in yourself, if you don't have clarity of who you serve and what you want to serve, and like Harmony talks about, the big goal, the big why, the big shift, transformation, then you're going to be stuck. No amount of networking or anything is going to make you more clear. It's going to make you unclear, because you're going to see what everyone's doing and like, I want to do that, or I can do that too. Oh, I can do that. And it's going to confuse you more. So just really right now at the start of you building your business is do this groundwork. Get really clear on who you are and what you want to serve, because you can do so many things. But like Harmony said at the start of the call, what lights you up? Like I can do so many things, but it fucking balls me. Like, ugh.
And I'll add to that, and I've used this example before, but I was help running. Remember that big speed? Well, it's like speed dating for women entrepreneurs.
Hundreds of women.
Hundreds of women there, and I was like one of the hosts, and so I was eavesdropping on everyone, and every second woman goes, "Hi, I'm Rosie. I'm a women's self-empowerment coach," and I'm like, "You're not going to get clients." It's like, what is that?
Yeah.
Like, I'm a women's self-empowerment coach. Oh, really? I need so much empowerment right now. Yes, sign
And
me
guess
up
what?
for
I
your
was one of those
program.
women. I was a women's empowerment coach. I just
I'm
like, no,
gonna
you're
call
not
you
Mel.
out. But like, it's like they didn't know who they served. They didn't know who they were. They didn't know how to call out their right, the right person that they're speaking to, and always let the other person go first as well in that situation, because they're going to give you a bit about themselves, and then you're going to always tweaking your marketing depending if you honestly think you can help that person to speak directly to them. And so the amount of women that said, like, what is a women's empowerment coach? Like, what do they do? And what does empowerment mean to me might mean something completely different. What empowerment means to Mel might be like being a kick-ass boss babe. What empowerment might mean to Susie might mean like having more fun in menopause. So don't do those throwaways of lines as I empower women. How? Why? What women? Every woman? And how, like, are you empowered? What does empowerment mean? You've got to go a bit deeper. And that's why I'm saying, think about your prior self. If you were in the position that you were in back then and someone said, I'm a women's empowerment coach, would you go, I need to work with you then? Like, think about what you would have wanted to hear. What were you, like, all the things we've talked about? What were you craving? What were your desires? What were your struggles? And come up with a short little paragraph after today's session, and think of, who was I and who is that person I'm going to serve? And it doesn't need to be anything fancy. And then if your game, pop it in the Facebook group, and me and Mel can give you feedback on that and really help you refine it even more. And although I've said before, I don't love those I help statements, they do actually help you to refine just a snapshot of who you serve. So I help the person who is struggling with what problem, to the outcome, that they want, their desires, using your unique methodology. Okay.
And I think, Kolbinda, circling back to that question you're asking, like, oh, how did you pivot? How did you find your people? And I remember at the Bodywork certification a few weeks ago, we were talking out on the balcony, and you spoke to me and Harmony about holding an event or a space, right? They're the clients that are going to come to that. So you don't need to go to a networking where your clients aren't, because the women that you're going to help, they're not running businesses. Like
Well,
from the
yeah.
conversation that we had, then they're not a business woman. They're a completely different audience. So you wouldn't want to go to network to get clients. You'll network just to network for professionalism. But I think going back to you creating that environment and drawing those people in with the messaging, once you get clear on your messaging, like Harmony spoke about, you're going to draw them in, hold space for however you're going to hold the space, however that's going to look like, and you're going to get clients through that. One-on-one clients.
I am on the business module now. So yeah, it's been interesting doing the module, because with the idea I've had, it's kind of evolved, but it just feels so big now. I don't know where to start, because I actually feel like my ideal client is corporations. And so I want to host personal development days for corporates. So corporates have this thing called offsites, where they take their entire business unit out of the business for a day and they do strategy sessions. But part of those strategy sessions is personal development. And I guess looking back at my old self, I loved going to those events, whether it was, one hosted by work or one hosted, like say a Business Chicks event. I think the biggest problem I had, and what I heard and spoke about, was the re-entry problem. So you go off and you have this amazing day and you get all the tools, but it's the re-entry problem. So going back to the work floors, doing the daily grind and getting that consistency. So, a lot of people go, well, it was great, but like I've forgotten about it already yesterday, I want to, I guess, a part of these events, give organizations kits that they can, give to their staff, so they don't have that re-entry problem, and they can go back and work on that. And then I thought, well, how can I make sure that that person's held accountable? Because I'm not going to be there to counsel them. And so then I was like, well, if I can, I don't know, develop an app where they can record what they've been doing, and then that app can give them a weekly summary on how much they've progressed, for example. But I think my ideal client is your HR, your people hubs, in organizations, because a lot of the time they hire guest speakers to come in. But if I could create something where I'm going to take half of your offsite, like half of your day, and in this half a day, these are all the activities that I'm going to run, and I'll cater for that. And that's where my Ayurveda cooking comes in. I don't know, I'm just trying to think, like, this is what my end goal would be. And then here's a take-home kit. And Harmony, I was so inspired by our conversation. So I thought, well, if I call myself the Balanced CEO, then it's like the Balanced CEO. And I thought, I don't know, I was thinking of a name, and I thought almost needs to be something like the Harmony Hub, and you get to take home Harmony kits, like, I don't know, like, I just keep thinking about, you have these holistic retreats and they're amazing. And then you have these corporate personal development days, but there's nothing kind of in between.
Integrating.
Yeah. And so how do I get a balance between like the whole feminine and masculine energy, right? Like, here are some holistic ways, that you can find balance, but I want to corporatize that, because I think my target market is corporate people.
Yeah. So your target market's corporate people. The struggle is integrating what they learn into their corporate lifestyle. And the call out is, how many times have you gone to one of those self-development days, corporate self-development days, and like done nothing with it? Sounded great at the time, motivation is high, then you go to work the next week, you're still feeling stressed, shit, and everything you felt before, because you've got no way of really integrating it and accountability and support. So that's your call out, right? And so you've got to think of their struggle is they don't know how to integrate it. They're not getting that integration. So your methodology is going to help them with that, and the tools that you use in it. And so you need to be calling out how you were feeling when you couldn't integrate. So you'd go to these days and then
Yeah.
you couldn't integrate it, and it was like fun, but also a waste of time. So
Yeah.
you need to be like really calling that out and think about those struggles, and that's in your marketing, and that is also the ideal person you're talking to. So
Yeah.
I'll let Mel have a go, and then we're
Yes. Oh, yeah.
gone over again. So we'll wrap it up a
So
bit.
for the corporate side, I can definitely hear you, which is amazing. So what you can do to start marketing, definitely don't go network, but there are networking. So what you want to do is reach out to a few of those, those big companies that hire people, blah, 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 because there is a section within those bigger hiring companies that look for people like you to go into the companies, the big corporations, to run these personal development productivity workshops, right? So you've got to, I think, tailor your message to them, not the employee, right? And then work with them to say, okay, this is what I've got, this is my integration part, and then work with them to build a whole work culture shift, because it's them, the workplace, the corporation, that is going to support the integration and the workplace shift. So when I was working in government, in this one section, was amazing. We've got this person come in, and he did it was once a week, I think it was 4 to 6 week long productivity and personal growth shift. And when he left, like you said, he left, we've got all the tools, but the greatest thing was the integration, because my work that I work with, the section that I work with in the department, she was really, really, really big on making that integration. So then every Friday we integrated that and it was a pens down kind of moment. At 4 o'clock, we had to go buy, collected money, went buy wine, all that kind of stuff, and made that an integration. So yes, you can have the package, but if you're going away, you need to work with the person to making sure that they're going to implement and make changes within the workplace. So maybe when you're pulling your package together, really hone in on that integration part and say, I will work with you to change the workplace culture to ensure that the integration take places and there is a definite change. So when you're thinking about your messaging, don't be messaging to the employee, because they're not the ones that are going to buy from you.
Yeah.
They're not the ones going to be working with you to roll this out. So change your messaging to the HR person in the corporation that is looking for culture shift, for the what do they call it? Employee well-being. They're the kind of people that you're going to work to.
And so with that, you need to think of your big result for them. So is it less sick leave? Is it less bullying? Better workplace culture, like Mel said, like think of the big results for those people.
Oh gosh, no, it just seems too big.
No, you've just got to go up. You've just got to go from targeting the person to targeting the people that are actually going to let that corporation go for that.
Well, it's interesting. My target, my ideal client is actually it's the HR department, or it's people culture. It's not the employee.
Yes. So why would they pay for your packet? You've got to give them that big result that they're going to get. What's the wins for them? How's it going to make their life easier? What are they struggling with now with their employees?
Yeah.
So the big results targeted at them.
Yeah.
I can I've got a neighbor who works in the recruitment area, and she was talking to me about pulling something together. I'm like, no, I don't want to do it. So she was giving me good tips. I'll go back to her and get the good tips in the packaging, because these corporations have massive budgets for people like you and looking for people like you all the time. So I'll touch base with her and see if she can give me an example kit or something, what they're looking for. And I know that they put in networking events so they can find people like you, network and connect, so then they can filter it off to their clients, which are the big corporations. So I'll have a conversation with her and touch base with you outside of this.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
All right, ladies. Well, we've well and fully gone over today, but it got a bit juicy at the end. No one was talking to me for the first 40 minutes, and everyone came out. It's good. This is what I want. I want like more of these sort of hot seat sessions where we're actually helping you with your business move forward, you with your embodying Ayurveda to move forward. So love that. I will pop up that I help statement just in the Facebook group, so you can sort of work on that today as well, just so you know who your ideal client is. Remember, think of it as you, your prior self. And yeah, if you have any questions, drop them in the Facebook group. Next week is Mel's monthly mindset call. Do you have any plans for that yet, Mel?
So the mindset call will be bring this stuff, see what blockages or things that are arising, and then we can work through those and put a little game plan. Like we'll give you a little game plan to actually put it in action.
Yeah.
Can I ask, just what is the business call? I haven't done that yet with Mel. That's with you, isn't it? You know, when we first, is that also just focusing more on my business, for example?
Yeah, it's the mindset shifts to be able to, yeah, mindset shifts for you. I mean, Mel, you can explain it more.
So the welcome call, like when you first sign up, or is it the
No,
week-
your monthly mindset call. So next
yes.
week's call.
So
Oh,
the
no,
mon-
I do mean the one when you sign up, you get the one-on-one with Mel.
Oh, yeah.
When is best to book in? Because I haven't booked in that yet, but I just thought
best to
maybe.
book in is now, yesterday. No. So yeah, just go into the link. Sorry, hubby's just cleaning at the front. Just go into the back end portal and just book that in with me.
So that's mindset.
It's to find out where you're at in your business,
Yeah, okay.
where you want to go. Yeah, so it's personalized to you. Yeah.
Well, today was really good, but I'd also be interested in that, what you just talked about with, is it
Colbinda.
Yeah.
Windows
Where are
fine.
you located? In Queensland?
Yeah, Brisbane, yeah.
I'm in Melbourne. So, but anyway, I'll book a call with Mel, and then yeah, I think I've just got a lot of ideas, but today's really shown just really bring it back down and start there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know if I mentioned it in our first call, you know, harmony, and if that would help anyone here. But what helped me a lot was that I don't know if anyone's heard of My Human Design, and that really, really helped me because I've realized that I was a projector, but I was, you know, you're surrounded by so many, I don't know, manifestors, and I was trying to do that, but I burnt out because I wasn't that. But then everything here is, just finding the right tone and everything. So
amazing. I would suggest even book your one-to-one call with Mel, but also go to her call on Tuesday because she's going to be taking it from this call and moving you forward as well.
Yeah. Okay, great. Yeah. Okay. I'll book that in as soon as I can. Mel's just also holiday time, so I'll do it as soon as I can. Thank you.
Love that. Awesome. All right, beautiful ladies. See you in the Facebook group.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.